Wind and hydroelectric power are two popular and useful ways to produce clean energy. They both work on a similar mechanism. They manipulate a part of the world around them to spin a generator, which in turn creates electricity. A generator works by spinning a coiled copper wire surrounded by magnets. This process turns kinetic energy into an electrical current. Generators are one of the most widespread ways to create electricity, and are used both on the smallest scales and the largest. From small toys to the largest of generation plants, generators are used to create electricity. With the exception of photovoltaic cells of solar power, generators are used in almost all energy generating techniques. In more traditional methods, such as coal and nuclear, the heat from burning these fuels is used to create steam, which then flows through a turbine to spin a generator. In terms of renewable energy, the goal is to use more natural forms of flow to spin a turbine so that the burning of harmful fuels is not necessary. Two of these forms would be wind flow and water flow, which are taken advantage of by wind turbines and hydroelectric dams. Wind turbines use the force of the wind to spin the turbines. The wind comes up against specially shaped blades which are spun by its force. This then spins a low-speed shaft inside of a wind turbine that then translates that energy into a high-speed shaft, which increases the RPM from about 30 to 60 revolutions per minute to 1 to 2,000 revolutions per minute. This spin then turns a generator, turning the kinetic energy into electricity to be used to power homes and other appliances. As of 2016, wind energy accounted for 39% of California's renewable energy output. The majority of wind turbines are located in 6 regions: Altamont, East San Diego County, Pacheco, Solano, San Giorgiano, and Tehachapi. The consistent nature of wind and its cost efficiency has allowed it to experience a lot of growth. Wind energy is now the 5th largest source of electric capacity, behind natural gas, coal, nuclear energy, and hydroelectric power. However, wind energy faces drawbacks that it must overcome to continue growth. One is the domestic nature of wind power. Wind power needs space in order to generate a lot of electricity, and that space is usually far from cities where energy is most needed. This can lead to an inefficient use of land for the amount of energy generated from it. In addition, there are ecological risks to consider. There are concerns about birds being hit by the turbine blades, which could damage endangered species during their migration paths. These concerns can be minimized, however, by good research and implementation of wind farms, by avoiding placing them along areas with a lot of bird activity, such as popular bird feeding areas or migration patterns. Overall, wind power has been extremely successful as a renewable source of energy, and has a lot of potential for the future. Hydroelectric power uses a somewhat similar method of using flow to generate electricity. However, it goes about it in very different ways. The most common type of hydroelectric power plant uses a dam or river to store water in a reservoir. Water released from the reservoir flows through a turbine, spinning it, which in turn activates a generator to produce electricity. Hydroelectric power doesn't necessarily require a large dam in all scenarios, and can be implemented using a small canal to channel the river water through a turbine, and still function. The speed and power of water allows sites to generate a ton of electricity. In 1996, hydroelectric power was able to generate 10% of the nation's total energy usage. One of the most impressive examples of hydroelectric power is the Hoover Dam. Built in 1931, the dam is sometimes referred to as the Great Pyramids of America due to its huge size and long-lasting properties. The dam is so large and so sturdily built that it has not yet even reached its full strength, as the concrete has not yet completely cleared, and won't be for another 125 years. The dam is able to produce 4.5 billion kilowatt hours annually on its own, as well as hold a total of 10 trillion or so gallons of water, enough to cover a state like Connecticut 10 feet deep. In California, hydroelectric power generated about 21% of the total in-state electricity generation in 2017. The amount of hydroelectricity produced can vary each year and is largely dependent on rainfall. This process is simple. Increased rain means more water and more flow through the turbines. The power generation is now trending up in production as the state recovers from a drought. However, this can create issues, as when droughts occur, then more energy has to be produced from less clean sources such as natural gas to make up for the loss. Though the energy generated from hydroelectric power is clean in terms of emissions, it can still have negative impacts on the environment by disrupting natural ecosystems. By disrupting streams, they have the possibility to destroy homes, agricultural land, archaeological sites, as well as the possibility of harming native species. Salmon runs are one of the main concerns, as they have been threatened by development along the rivers they swim up to spawn. Designs like fish ladders, where pools are used to allow salmon to jump up and over a dam, help mitigate some of these problems. However, dams still do permanent damage to the environments in which they are used, and the ecosystems cannot always perfectly adapt. Wind and hydroelectric power are consistent and clean sources of energy, which can be implemented to establish long-term energy production. However, they still need to overcome ecological impacts to better serve our already changing climate.